Spring is a great time to backpack in the Southern Appalachians and Cumberland Plateau. So two friends and I headed to the Big South Fork area. Started at the West Entrance Trail down to the Laurel Fork Creek, then downstream and an exit to the Jacks Ridge Loop Trail. With me were Barbara Allen, shown here, then Tommy Pritchard, and finally myself.
Get a picture of the two lost hikers here who started out the wrong way.
Been there and done that before.
All right.
Which trail you're supposed to be on?
Right there's the way we go. We follow the road here a ways off in the woods, and then we drop down over a plateau to Laurel Fork Creek. And let's wait up on everybody at Laurel Fork Creek. Well, I'm doing a very easy overnight backpack with friends Barbara Allen and Tommy Pritchard, who are on up ahead of me, in the Big South Fork National River and Recreation Area. We're hiking from the western entrance on the West Entrance Trail down to Laurel Fork Creek, and then we're going along the creek on downstream, and then we'll hike up away from Laurel Fork Creek to the Jacks Ridge Loop trailhead. It's accessed by a really bad road that requires all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, I guess. But Barbara and I took our cars down there, and Tommy left his sedan. We have SUVs in doing the shuttle. About 1.5 miles down to the creek, Laurel Fork Creek, and then another mile or so down to a campsite I camped at last year. Perfect day, bluebird sky, no clouds, low 80s, I guess. So actually the first 2 really good days of this year for outdoor activities, I guess. It's actually a little on the hot side right now. And we're crossing over and descending down off the plateau to the creek. The trail is on an old road. It's in really good shape. And as I mentioned, across the plateau and right here, we're starting to descend down into the Laurel Fork Creek Gorge. About a little over 1/3 of a mile to go. There's some beautiful moss of some sort along the trail. And here the descent continues down into Laurel Fork Gorge. You can just hear the water down below. Somewhere down there. And here we are at Laurel Fork Creek. It's not too high, it's clean, so really good. We'll cross here and go down the other side on the Laurel Fork Creek Trail, which is one of the few hiking-only trails. Most trails allow horses and/or bikes, so it's good to have a few that aren't, although some people violate the rules, of course. Getting to the deep part there, I think.
Huh?
Getting to the deeper part there. It's not too bad though.
Come out of the deep section.
I was off to the left, rock hopping. I stayed relatively dry. Good crossing, Barbara.
It's kind of cold.
Yeah, it is. And here we go back across. I made a mistake. The trail we should have turned down is up, just right up there. And the sign was pointing over this way to Laurel Fork Creek, but it was pointing upstream, I suppose. So anyway, we go back. So here we're crossing at the correct spot. Trails on the other side going downstream to the right. And I'm going to give it another try to rock hop right through there.
And here he comes. He's just about to make it.
Relatively dry so far. Have to try falling. I don't think I will. Great.
And he made it.
Yep. And the fifth crossing after the aborted first crossing. Got one more to go, I guess, before, because we're close to the camp right now, but got to cross again. And here's Barbara starting across, and then Tommy. Tommy put his shoes back on after the last crossing and got to take them off again. I'm still rock hopping and was able to rock crop pretty well across this one. And stay relatively dry, just kind of damp socks. There's the way I came. Right through there. So just before our final crossing, sixth crossing for the day, and before the campsite where I camped last time, which is the creek goes down and makes a bend back to the left, and the campsite is over there. Barbara and I were hiking while Tommy put his wading shoes back on. We were coming down that trail there, right beside the creek, beautiful bluff on the other side. And Barbara commented on the flat area up there on top, and we both went up and took a look. And turns out it's a wonderful campsite, and I found even signs of somebody having camped there in the past. It's a fire ring, but pretty old. So we are going to camp a little short of where I'd planned in this big flat platform-like area above the creek, within sound and easy to get to the water. Okay, I was going to get a picture, a video of our Sherpa cutting our wood for tonight. So Sherpa, why don't you go ahead and cut our wood? 2 Sherpas, right? Actually, Tommy on the left and Barbara on the right. It's a good saw. Great. Good job.
He's all right.
It's Barbara's tent. No, Tommy's tent. Barbara's tent way down there. And my tent over there. And the creek beyond. We got lots of gourmet food here. Tommy, what are you eating?
Curried lentil bisque with added broccoli.
Great. And Barbara, again, what are you eating?
Mexican rice with black beans.
Great. And over here, I am going to fix something called Three Sisters Stew by Backpacker's Pantry. You probably can't hear it, but there are a bunch of coyotes upstream howling, maybe drowned out by the gurgling of the stream, which is right below where my tent is. A nice night, low 60s maybe. Heard the coyotes, lots of birds this morning, gurgling creek all night long. And time to get up around 7 o'clock. Okay, Tommy, tell us about your cold nose last night. Tommy was totally comfortable, except he forgot his nose warmer.
I had my nose warmer, but when I put my nose warmer on, I couldn't breathe very well. Finally, I just engulfed myself in the entire sleeping bag, and that worked.
And we think it got down, what, in mid-50s, we think,
Well,
maybe?
mid-30s, I'm sure.
Right. Right. Well, it's just a little after 9:30, and we're heading out. Great campsite. That's basically the campsite. The three shadows are pointing to there. And there go Tommy and Barbara.
Here's a topo map with GPS tracks of our route, yellow on Monday and red on Tuesday, coming out onto the Jacks Ridge Loop Trail.
Real cold.
Yeah, what we'll say, there'd be one or two river crossings, yeah.
I took a little detour from the trail over there to where I camped last year in that open space right there. I built a fire down on the sandbar down there. But I think for several people back where we were, it was probably better, and maybe better in general. So you got the bluffs back there to look at. The water's still pretty close, and there's more probably level open areas. The one advantage of this one is it's getting the morning sun more, looks like. The remnants of my fire are long gone, which is why I built it down there on the sand. Flood washed it away. Second crossing. I'm going to rock hock somewhat, but I'm not going to worry about getting wet because we only have 2 to 3 miles to go and just get my boots wet. Some bird up there is really making lots of bird sounds. Getting close to the final crossing. And wildflowers are not incredible, but pretty good this weekend. Particularly these, the dwarf crested iris. And we've seen a lot of lady slippers, but they're just beginning to come out. Here we are at our final crossing of Laurel Fork Creek, and then up 3/4 of a mile really steeply to where Barbara's car is parked. And there's a barrier for horses going on up the creek. And of course the trail continues down the creek to Big South Fork and Station Cramp Crossing. Yeah.
It had a tremendous trillium garden on top of it.
Whoa, on top of the boulder.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Here's Barbara doing crossing number 6. So here's the very steep access road that comes down from the trailhead to Laurel Fork Creek. So horses and hikers are allowed on this one. And it's a real climb. But along the way, more crested dwarf iris. Really good looking. And down there is Laurel Fork Creek. That's Tommy heading on up to the accompaniment of some nice bird sounds. After a really tough climb, here's the trailhead and Barbara's car on the Jake's Ridge Loop road and trail. A bit over 3 miles today, and near 12 o'clock when we're getting out. We left camp at 9:30 or so.
At the end, I'm going to show some photos of some flowers we saw first, probably the dwarf centerfold and bluets, and then the beautiful pink lady slipper. Then the showy orchis, part of the orchid family. And finally, a couple of photographs of the dwarf crested iris that we saw lots of.